The funeral ended under a gray sky that seemed to press down on everyone who had gathered. Friends and neighbors left quickly, offering polite condolences, but the family lingered as if waiting for something more, something unsaid. Anna, the eldest daughter, stood near the grave, her hands stiff at her sides, her eyes dry. She had always been the practical one, the one who handled paperwork, doctors, and the small humiliations of sickness. She did not cry now. She only nodded to people and kept her jaw tight. Martha, the middle sister, wept openly, her sobs carrying through the cemetery in a way that embarrassed Anna. She had always been the emotional one, the one who remembered every slight and nursed every wound. Lily, the youngest, kept to herself, her face pale, her eyes avoiding her sisters. She had never been good at standing between them, never brave enough to fight back, always the one overlooked in arguments that stretched back decades. When they returned to their mother's house, the air inside was heavy, almost suffocating. The smell of old fabric and dust filled the rooms. The house had been lived in by one person for too long. It felt smaller now that she was gone, like the walls themselves carried grief. Anna immediately took charge, opening drawers and sorting through piles of papers. "We should get everything organized before the lawyer comes," she said briskly, her tone businesslike. Martha rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath about control. Lily wandered through the house in silence, her fingers brushing against old photographs that still hung crookedly on the walls. She paused in their mother's bedroom. The bed was neatly made, as though their mother had expected to return. On the nightstand sat her reading glasses, folded carefully, and a half-finished book. Lily's throat tightened. She crouched to pull open the bottom drawer of the nightstand, expecting the usual clutter, pens, unpaid bills, maybe some forgotten jewelry. Instead, her hand brushed against something different, a heavy, leather-bound journal, its cover worn smooth from years of touch. Her breath caught. She pulled it out and held it against her chest before carrying it carefully to the living room. "Look at this," she said quietly. Anna and Martha both turned. Anna frowned as if irritated by the interruption, but Martha leaned forward, curiosity sharpening her grief. The sisters gathered around the coffee table as Lily set the journal down. Its leather was cracked, and the clasp had nearly fallen off, but when Anna opened it, the handwriting inside was unmistakable. It was their mother's. The first page was dated nearly 15 years earlier, and the words cut immediately. "If anyone finds this, it means I am gone. What you must know is that truth is heavier than inheritance." Anna stiffened. Martha drew in a sharp breath. Lily's eyes widened. They looked at one another in silence before Anna turned the page. Their mother's handwriting, steady but unflinching, began to describe the years of conflict she had endured with her own sisters, their aunts, during the division of their grandmother's estate. The entries were raw, filled with anger and a sense of betrayal. She had written of arguments over jewelry, accusations of theft, whispered rumors that poisoned family gatherings. But as they read further, the journal shifted focus. Their mother began to write about them, her own daughters. She described Anna as distant, too proud, more like her father than like her. She wrote that Martha was impulsive, unable to let go of grudges, always demanding more than she gave. She confessed that she worried Lily would never be strong enough to stand for herself, that she would always hide from conflict and let others decide her fate. Each sentence felt like a blow. Anna's mouth tightened as though holding back words she refused to speak. Martha's face flushed with indignation, her tears drying into something sharper, angrier. Lily felt her chest constrict, shame crawling up her throat. Then came the line that silenced them all. "When it comes to dividing what I leave behind, know this, I loved you all, but I trusted none of you." The room grew colder, as though the words themselves carried a chill. Anna closed the journal sharply, her knuckles white. Martha leaned forward, her eyes flashing. "She wrote this for us to find. Don't you see? She wanted us to tear each other apart like she did with her sisters. Or maybe she just wanted us to know the truth," Lily whispered, her voice trembling. Anna stood abruptly, pacing the room. "We can't let this control us. It's just her anger on paper. It doesn't change the will." But even as she said it, her eyes flicked toward the journal again, as though she couldn't help but wonder what else it contained. Martha reached for it, but Anna slapped her hand away. "No, we don't need to read more." Lily hugged herself, her eyes darting between them. She felt the weight of the journal like a living thing in the room, pressing on all of them. She knew, deep down, that it would not remain closed. It couldn't. The inheritance was no longer just a matter of property or money. It was tangled now with their mother's last words, her judgments, her unresolved battles. And each of them, in their own way, would be desperate to prove her wrong. The next morning the three sisters gathered again at the house, though none of them had slept much. The journal sat in the center of the dining table like an uninvited guest, its leather covered dark against the pale tablecloth. Anna had insisted they leave it untouched overnight, but Martha had already confessed she had considered sneaking back in during the night to read ahead. Lily had half expected Anna to take the journal with her when she left, but the fact that it remained meant that Anna, too, was curious, though she would never admit it. "We need to focus on the will," Anna said. Her voice clipped as she spread out some of the papers their mother had left in a folder. "The lawyer will be here next week. We'll divide what needs to be divided then. End of story." "End of story?" Martha laughed bitterly. "You read what she wrote. That's not the end of anything. It's the beginning. She didn't trust us, Anna. She thought we were just like her and her sisters. Maybe she was right." Lily sat quietly at the edge of the table, her fingers drumming nervously. She wanted to avoid another fight, but the tension in the room felt like a storm pressing down on her. Finally, unable to hold back, she asked the question she had been thinking all night. What if there's more? What if she wrote about why she divided things the way she did? Shouldn't we know? Anna's glare silenced her. That journal is poison. It's her bitterness, nothing more. We shouldn't let it dictate anything. Martha leaned forward, her voice rising. Of course you'd say that. You've always been the favorite. Maybe the journal proves otherwise. Maybe she finally told the truth about you. Anna's face flushed red, and for a moment Lily thought she might actually slap Martha. Instead, Anna shoved the folder of legal papers across the table. "This is the truth, not some scribbles in an old book." But Martha ignored the papers. With sudden determination, she reached for the journal and opened it to where they had left off. Anna cursed under her breath, but didn't stop her. Lily leaned in reluctantly as Martha began to read aloud. The words poured into the room like a slow poison. Their mother had written about the year their father left, her loneliness, her anger, her disappointment. She described how each daughter had reacted. Anna taking control as though she were already the head of the family, Martha raging and demanding answers, Lily retreating into silence. She wrote of how each reaction had cut her differently. Then came an entry that made all three freeze. "If one of them turns against the others for the sake of this house, then my fears were true. Let them destroy each other, as my sisters destroyed me. Let them see what inheritance really means." Martha stopped reading, her hands trembling. Anna looked pale, her lips pressed tightly together. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. None of them spoke for a long time. Finally, Anna said, "She wanted this. She wanted us to fight. I won't give her that satisfaction." But Martha slammed the journal shut. "You're already fighting. You just pretend you're above it all." Lily stood suddenly, her voice breaking. "Stop it. Both of you. Don't you see? This is exactly what she wrote about. This is what she feared. We're repeating it." Her words hung in the air, but neither sister seemed willing to listen. The argument grew louder, sharper. Old resentments resurfaced, each accusation dragging the past into the present. Anna accused Martha of never helping with their mother's care in her final months. Martha shot back that Anna had always played the martyr, pretending to sacrifice while secretly holding power over both of them. Lily tried to interject, tried to calm them, but her voice was drowned out by the rising storm. She felt invisible again, the role she had always played, and the shame of it made her chest ache. In desperation, she grabbed the journal and clutched it to her chest. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice cracking. Both sisters turned toward her, startled by the sudden force. "If you keep screaming at each other, I'll read every word myself and tell you nothing." Maybe that's what she wanted, for just one of us to carry it. The room fell silent. Anna's eyes narrowed, and Martha's mouth hung open. For the first time, Lily felt a flicker of power, a dangerous thrill at holding something they both wanted. But it terrified her too, because she realized her mother had been right. The journal was more than paper and ink. It was a weapon, and now it was in her hands. She placed it back on the table slowly, her hands trembling. No one moved for a long time. Outside, a branch scraped against the window, a reminder of the quiet world continuing beyond their turmoil. Finally, Anna sank into a chair, her voice heavy. If we keep this up, none of us will survive it. She'll get exactly what she wanted. But Martha's eyes gleamed with defiance. Or maybe she wanted us to know who we really are. Maybe that was the point all along. Lily said nothing, but inside her, something shifted. For the first time, she wondered if their mother had left more than one truth behind, if the journal contained secrets that could not only divide them, but destroy the very idea of family. And deep down, despite her fear, she wanted to read every word. The days that followed were heavy with silence, broken only by the sound of drawers opening, boxes being dragged across the floor, and the occasional sharp exchange between Anna and Martha. The house felt darker now, even in the middle of the day, as though their mother's presence lingered between the walls, not gentle or protective, but watchful, judging, daring them to find out more. The journal remained on the table, sometimes untouched for hours, sometimes pulled closer by one sister or another, each of them waiting for the others to leave the room so she could secretly read ahead. It became like a magnet none of them could resist. Lily, who had surprised even herself with her sudden defiance, found that both sisters now regarded her differently. Anna watched her with suspicion, as though she had become a threat. Martha tried to draw her in, whispering when Anna wasn't around that they should read the rest together, just the two of them, so Anna wouldn't twist the words to her advantage. For the first time in her life, Lily felt what it was like to matter in the balance between her sisters, but the feeling was mixed with dread. One evening, while Anna was upstairs sorting through closets, Lily and Martha sat together in the kitchen. The journal lay between them, open to a page they had not yet dared to read aloud. Martha pushed it toward Lily. "Go on," she urged. "Just us. Anna doesn't need to know everything." Lily hesitated, her fingers trembling as she traced the lines of her mother's handwriting. Then, taking a deep breath, she began to read. The entry was dated 10 years ago, the summer when their mother had fallen ill for the first time. She wrote about her fear of death, about the way each daughter responded. Anna organizing doctor visits with a cold efficiency that made her feel like a patient instead of a mother, Martha drowning her in dramatic displays of care, bringing gifts and flowers, but disappearing when things became difficult, and Lily, sweet Lily, who stayed by her side in silence, but never said what she was really feeling. Asterisk of them all, the journal read. Lily is the one who sees me most clearly. She may be quiet, but she watches, she understands. Sometimes I think she carries the whole weight of this family in her silence. I fear it will crush her, but I also believe she will outlast them all. Lily stopped reading, her throat thick with emotion. Martha's eyes widened, then narrowed. "So she thought you were the strong one all along," she muttered. Lily shook her head. "That's not what it says. She said she was afraid for me, that I'd carry too much." "No," Martha said sharply, her voice trembling. "She chose you. She trusted you more than me, more than Anna. That's what it means." Lily closed the journal quickly, her hands shaking. She didn't want this. She didn't want her sisters to turn her into the center of their mother's final judgment. But the words had been written, and she could not erase them. That night, unable to sleep, Lily wandered through the house alone. The shadows stretched long across the floorboards, and every creak of the old wood seemed louder than usual. She found herself drawn back to her mother's bedroom, the room that had always smelled faintly of lavender and old paper. She opened the closet, pushing aside coats and boxes, and there, wedged between the floorboards, she noticed something odd. A tin box, small, locked, almost hidden from sight. Her heart raced as she pulled it free. She carried it back to the living room, setting it on the table beside the journal. When she opened it with trembling hands, using a hairpin she had bent nervously, it clicked open to reveal a stack of old letters. They were addressed to someone none of them knew. To Evelyn. The handwriting was her mother's. Lily unfolded the first letter and began to read. Her mother wrote of anger and betrayal, of feeling cheated not only by her sisters, but by her own husband. She accused him of lies, of keeping secrets from her, and then came a line that made Lily's blood run cold. "He always said Evelyn was just a friend, but I know the truth. He gave her what he should have given me, and maybe even what should have belonged to my daughters." Lily sat back, her hands trembling. She read another letter, then another. The words grew sharper, more desperate, filled with accusations of infidelity, of stolen money, of a child who might not belong to the family at all. She froze, the weight of the possibility pressing down on her. A child who might not belong. Did her mother mean one of them? Or someone else entirely? Suddenly, she felt the urge to hide the letters, to keep them from Anna and Martha. The truth inside them was too dangerous, too explosive. But as she slipped the letters back into the box, she heard footsteps behind her. Anna stood in the doorway, her eyes narrowing at the sight. "What are you hiding?" Lily's breath caught. She wanted to lie, to say it was nothing, but Anna's gaze was sharp, unrelenting. "It's more letters," Lily admitted reluctantly. "From Mom." "About," she hesitated. "About Dad. About another woman." Anna's face went rigid. She strode forward and snatched the box from the table, rifling through the letters with frantic energy. As she read, her lips moved, her jaw clenched. Finally, she dropped the papers onto the table, her voice low and dangerous. She thought he cheated. She thought he gave away what should have been ours. And she thought, her eyes met Lily's, cold and piercing, that one of us might not even be his. The words struck like a thunderclap. Lily shook her head violently. No. She was angry. She was sick. You know how she twisted things. But Anna's face was pale, her hands trembling. What if she was right? What if everything we're fighting over doesn't even belong to all of us? Martha appeared in the doorway then, drawn by the raised voices. She saw the letters scattered across the table and demanded to know what they had found. When Anna told her, Martha's scream of outrage shook the room. "You think I'm not his, don't you? That's what you're thinking. That's why you're looking at me like that." "I didn't say that," Anna snapped, but her tone was too sharp, too defensive. Martha lunged toward the letters, clutching them to her chest. "She always hated me the most. She probably wrote this to poison you against me. You want me out of the inheritance, don't you? Admit it." Lily tried to step between them, her voice breaking as she pleaded for calm, but it was useless. The journal and the letters had already done their work. The seeds of suspicion had been planted, and there was no pulling them out. For the first time, Lily realized with terrifying clarity that the inheritance was no longer about money or property. It was about blood itself. Who truly belonged? Who was family? Who was not? And as she looked at her sisters, their faces twisted with fear and anger, she felt more alone than ever, even as she held the only proof of their mother's darkest suspicions in her trembling hands. The house no longer felt like a home. Every corner seemed filled with shadows, every sound amplified by the tension that now saturated the air. The journal and the letters remained on the dining table, their pages scattered and folded, but they might as well have been weapons laid out between the sisters, weapons no one dared to put away. Anna and Martha avoided each other when they could, though avoidance usually ended in louder arguments when they crossed paths. Lily moved quietly through the rooms, trying to keep the fragile peace, but even she knew she was only delaying an inevitable explosion. Their mother's words hung over them like a curse, the suspicion that one of them was not truly their father's daughter. It was a thought none of them could let go of, yet none dared to say aloud too often. One evening, after a long day of bickering over what to keep and what to throw away, Anna finally snapped. She slammed a box onto the floor, sending old photographs scattering. "We can't keep doing this," she hissed, her face pale but burning with fury. "If she was telling the truth, then we need to know. We can't live in this uncertainty." Martha's eyes narrowed. "And how do you propose we find out? Dig up Dad's grave? Call the neighbors and ask if they remember who he was sleeping with?" "A DNA test," Anna shot back. "Simple. Quick. No more speculation. We find out once and for all." Lily's stomach dropped. The idea seemed too final, too brutal, but Martha laughed bitterly, crossing her arms. "Of course. You want proof that I'm not one of you, don't you? That's what this is about. You'll be happy to see me gone." "Don't twist this," Anna said, her voice rising. "It's about the truth." But Martha lunged at her then, shoving her shoulder hard. The box of photographs spilled further, faces of their childhood scattered like accusations across the floor. Lily cried out and tried to push them apart, but Martha's anger burned too hot, Anna's temper too tightly wound. They shoved and shouted, voices raw with years of resentment. "You were never good enough for her," Anna screamed. "She pitied you, and she feared you." Martha spat back. She saw through your little act, your perfect eldest daughter nonsense. She knew you were just like him, cold, selfish, impossible to love. The words stung more than any slap, and Anna froze, trembling with rage. Lily finally managed to wedge herself between them, her face wet with tears. Stop, both of you. Don't you understand? She's still controlling us, even from the grave. Every word in that journal, every letter, she knew what it would do to us. But neither listened. Anna stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled, leaving Martha sobbing and shaking on the floor. Lily knelt beside her, trying to comfort her, but Martha shoved her away. Don't you dare pity me, she whispered through her tears. She already chose you. She made sure you'd outlast us. Maybe she wanted you to watch us tear each other apart. Lily recoiled, her heart breaking. That night, she wandered the house again, restless and afraid. She found herself back in the bedroom, staring at the empty space where her mother's bed had been. The silence pressed in on her. She whispered into the darkness, as though her mother might hear. Why did you do this? Why couldn't you just leave peace behind? No answer came, only the groan of the old wood as if the house itself were sighing. Days blurred together after that. Anna left for long stretches, claiming to meet with the lawyer, though Lily suspected she was gathering information about DNA testing. Martha grew more paranoid, carrying the journal with her as though afraid Anna would steal it away. Lily felt trapped, suffocated, each moment spent in the house pulling her deeper into the quicksand of her mother's legacy. The breaking point came late one night. A storm raged outside, wind howling against the shutters, rain hammering the roof. Inside, the sisters sat in separate rooms, the silence between them sharper than any argument. Then Anna returned from one of her absences, her coat dripping, her eyes hard. She tossed an envelope onto the table. I already sent for the kits. They'll be here in a few days. Martha's face twisted with fury. She lunged forward, grabbing the envelope, tearing it open, scattering papers across the table. You had no right, she screamed. You don't get to decide for all of us. Someone had to, Anna snapped back. You'd rather live with lies than face the truth? Martha's hands shook as she clutched the papers. I know what this is. It's not about the truth, it's about power. You want to erase me, to make me nothing, but I won't let you. She grabbed the journal and held it up high, her voice breaking. This is all we need. This is her truth, not some cold test in a lab. Lily rushed forward, terrified she would tear it apart, but Martha clutched it tightly, her eyes wild. Anna stepped closer, her voice low and dangerous. If you destroy that, you'll regret it. Or maybe, Martha hissed. It's the only way to free us from her ghost. She moved as if to rip the pages, but Lily screamed and grabbed her arm. In the struggle, the journal fell, pages bending, the leather cover scraping against the floorboards. The three of them froze, breathing hard, staring at the object that had consumed them. Outside, the storm grew louder, thunder rolling through the night. Lily knelt and picked it up, hugging it tightly to her chest. We can't destroy it, she whispered, her voice shaking. We can't ignore it. But if we let it rule us, we're finished. Anna and Martha stared at her, their faces pale, their eyes haunted. In that moment, Lily realized she was the only one left holding them together, the only one trying to bridge the widening abyss. But she also knew she couldn't hold them forever. Something was going to break, and when it did, there would be no repairing it. The storm outside rattled the windows, and for the first time Lily wondered if the collapse their mother had predicted was already here. Not in the inheritance, not in the property, but in them, in the fragile threads of blood that were snapping one by one. The storm had passed, leaving the air heavy and damp, but inside the house the tension only thickened. Days after the violent argument, the DNA kits arrived, neat and clinical, their sterile boxes sitting on the table like instruments of judgment. None of the sisters wanted to be the first to touch them, but Anna eventually pushed one toward herself, her movements brisk and determined. We're doing this, she said, her voice taut. We can't let her words haunt us forever. Martha sat across from her, clutching the journal against her chest as if it were armor. Her face was pale, her eyes shadowed from sleepless nights. You think truth comes from a lab result? She whispered, almost to herself. She already told us what she believed. Her words are enough. She wanted me gone, Anna. She wanted me erased. Why should we help her finish the job? Because we deserve to know, Anna snapped. We deserve a chance at freedom. We can't spend the rest of our lives in this house choking on her secrets. Lily hovered between them, torn apart by the weight of their words. She felt like a child again, pulled between two forces stronger than herself, unable to choose. But now she knew she had to. What if the truth destroys us? She asked quietly, her voice trembling. Anna turned to her, her expression hard. Then at least we'll know what we're fighting. Lies destroy us anyway, piece by piece. This way it's clean. Martha shook her head, laughing bitterly. Clean? Nothing about this is clean. If the test says I don't belong, then what? You'll kick me out? Pretend I never existed? I've lived here. I've bled here. I've suffered the same as you. You think some paper can erase that? It's not about erasing you, Anna said, but her voice cracked at the edges, betraying the possibility that maybe it was. Lily closed her eyes, remembering their mother's voice, her sharp words, her ability to pit them against each other with a look, a phrase, a sigh. It was happening again, as though the woman had never left, as though she were still seated at the head of the table, pulling strings. And yet the choice had to be made. Lily stepped forward and placed her hand on the DNA box. If we do this, she said softly, we do it together. Or not at all. We either face it as sisters, or we destroy it and live with the silence. But no more half decisions. No more dragging this out until we've torn each other apart completely. The silence that followed was thick and suffocating. Anna's jaw tightened. Martha's eyes glistened with tears she refused to shed. Finally, Anna spoke. Fine. Together. Martha hesitated, her fingers tightening around the journal until her knuckles turned white. And if the test says I don't belong? Then you're still our sister, Lily said fiercely before Anna could answer. No paper, no blood test, no old secrets can change that. Not unless we let it. Martha looked at her, searching her face for lies, for pity, for weakness. At last, slowly, she placed the journal on the table, her hands trembling as she let it go. Then together, she whispered. They opened the kits, the process simple but weighted with unbearable significance. Each swab, each sealed envelope, felt like a nail hammered into the coffin of their shared past. When it was done, they sent them off, and then there was nothing left but waiting. Waiting stretched into torment. Every glance, every word, every silence became charged with suspicion and dread. Anna busied herself with paperwork. Martha clung to the journal as if it were a lifeline, and Lily drifted between them, the unwilling guardian of their fragile ceasefire. But the night the results arrived, the fragile peace shattered for good. The email came while they were eating a silent dinner, the ding of Anna's phone cutting through the quiet. She froze, staring at the screen, her hand trembling as she read. It's here, she whispered. Martha dropped her fork, her face draining of color. Lily's breath caught in her throat. Anna opened the message, her eyes scanning the words, her lips parting in a gasp. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she looked up, her face pale and haunted. It's Martha, she said, her voice barely audible. She's not his. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Martha recoiled as though struck, her chair scraping against the floor. No, she whispered. No, that can't be right. That's not. She lunged for Anna's phone, snatching it from her hands, her eyes devouring the screen. Tears blurred her vision as the confirmation screamed at her in clinical black and white. Not a biological match. Lies, she whispered, her voice cracking. It's all lies. They mixed it up. They had to. But even as she spoke, she knew it wasn't true. The journal, the words, the whispers, everything aligned with cruel precision. Her mother had known, and now the world knew too. She staggered back, clutching the phone, her whole body trembling. You wanted this, she spat at Anna, her voice breaking with grief and rage. You wanted to cast me out, and now you have your proof. Are you happy? Anna shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No, I didn't want this. I just wanted to end the doubt. You wanted her gone, Martha hissed, pointing at Lily, her voice shrill and wild. But I'm the one erased. Me. Always me. Lily rushed to her, but Martha shoved her away, collapsing against the wall, sobs tearing through her chest. All my life, she gasped, I fought to belong. I thought if I stayed, if I obeyed, if I gave enough, maybe she'd see me. But she knew. She knew I was nothing. And now so do you. Lily knelt beside her, her own tears falling. You are not nothing, she said, her voice fierce. You're my sister. No matter what. Blood doesn't make us. It never has. We survived her together, and we'll survive this. But Martha only shook her head, hollow and broken. Anna stood frozen, her face buried in her hands, guilt consuming her. The truth had come, but it had not set them free. It had broken them, exactly as their mother might have intended. In that moment, Lily realized the true inheritance their mother had left them was not the house, nor the land, nor the money. It was this, a legacy of division, a curse of truth sharpened into a weapon. And the choice before them was clear, terrible, and final. They could let it consume them, or they could refuse it, together. But as Martha's sobs filled the room and Anna's silence stretched on, Lily knew the cost of either choice would scar them forever. The house felt different now, though nothing had changed in its walls or floors. The same creaks followed their footsteps, the same smell of dust and age lingered in the air, yet everything inside it seemed heavier, as if the truth revealed had seeped into the wood and stone. The journal sat closed on the dining table, its presence more suffocating than ever, while the DNA results lay folded beside it, a piece of paper so small yet powerful enough to undo a family. In the days after the revelation, silence became the language of the sisters. Martha moved through the house like a ghost, speaking only when necessary, her face drawn and hollow, her eyes vacant. Anna buried herself in chores, scrubbing, fixing, throwing away, anything to keep her hands occupied, anything to escape the guilt that clung to her. Lily tried to hold the space between them, offering food, comfort, words, but none of it seemed enough. She could feel them slipping, the fragile threads of their bond fraying one by one, and she knew that if something wasn't done, if some choice wasn't made, they would leave the house as strangers. One evening, when the sun was setting and the sky burned orange through the cracked windows, Lily gathered them in the dining room. She placed the journal in front of them, her hands trembling, her heart pounding. We have to decide, she said quietly. This book, these results, they've already taken too much from us. If we keep them, if we let them sit here between us, they'll finish what she started. We have to choose whether to destroy them or keep them, but whatever we do it together. Anna stared at the table, her hands clenched in her lap. If we destroy it, she said, her voice low, then it's like pretending none of it happened, like burying her twice. And if we keep it, Martha whispered, her voice trembling, we're agreeing to live under her shadow forever. Every word she wrote will keep echoing. Every lie, every cruel thought. I can't survive that. Lily looked at both of them, tears filling her eyes. Then what do we want? To live with her or without her? Because right now, it feels like she's still sitting at this table, laughing at us. For the first time in days, Martha's eyes flickered with life. She reached out, running her fingers over the worn leather of the journal. She wanted me erased, she said softly, bitterly. Every page is proof of that. If we destroy it, then maybe she finally loses. Maybe I get to stay. Anna's jaw tightened, guilt cutting into her like glass. She looked at Martha, her voice cracking. I'm sorry. I thought finding the truth would free us, but it only chained us tighter. If destroying it will free you, then maybe that's the only way. Lily picked up the journal, her fingers clutching it tightly. The weight of it seemed unbearable, as though all the years of bitterness had solidified in its pages. She looked at Anna, then at Martha, then at the old fireplace that stood cold and unused in the corner. Slowly, she walked toward it, her sisters watching in silence. She hesitated, her heart pounding. Was this the right choice? Would destroying the journal erase their pain, or would it erase their history too? Without these pages, would they forget who their mother really was, or would it finally let them remember her without poison? She looked back at her sisters, who sat waiting, their faces pale but expectant. For once, they were united, not in love, perhaps, but in exhaustion, in desperation for release. She opened the iron grate, laid the journal inside, and struck a match. The flame flared bright, small yet fierce, and she lowered it into the fireplace. The leather caught slowly, the pages curling, blackening, turning to ash. The sisters watched as the words that had torn them apart twisted and dissolved, the crackle of fire filling the silence. Martha let out a sob, but it was different this time, not of despair, but of something closer to release. Anna sat still, tears streaming silently down her face. Lily watched the flames, her chest tight, her mind racing. When it was over, only ashes remained, a small gray pile where once there had been power and venom. She closed the grate and turned back to her sisters. No one spoke for a long while. The silence felt different now, not oppressive, but fragile, as if the air itself were waiting for them to decide what came next. Finally, Martha whispered, "What about the results?" Anna reached for the folded paper on the table, staring at it for a long moment. Then, without a word, she handed it to Martha. Martha looked down at it, her hands trembling. Slowly, she tore it in half, then into smaller pieces, her sobs breaking the quiet. Lily gathered the scraps, carried them to the fire, and let them burn too. When the flames died down, the three sisters sat in the dim light, surrounded by silence and smoke. They were no freer than before, perhaps, but the evidence of their divisions was gone, replaced by memory, by choice. Whether that choice was enough, none of them knew. In the days that followed, they packed the house, each item another reminder of the life they had shared and the life they had lost. They argued still, but softer now, as though afraid of reopening wounds too raw to survive. When the time came to divide the inheritance, they did so quickly, almost mechanically, avoiding eye contact, avoiding the deeper questions. And when the house was finally empty, when the last box was loaded into cars and the doors locked, they stood on the porch together one final time. Martha looked at her sisters, her eyes red but steady. "We can walk away now," she said. "But I don't know if we'll ever really be sisters again." Anna looked down at her hands, ashamed, broken. Lily looked at them both, her heart aching. "Maybe that's the choice we make every day," she said softly. "Not just once. Not with fire, not with paper. Every day we decide if we're still sisters, or if we're just three strangers who used to share a mother." No one answered. They hugged briefly, stiffly, then walked to their cars. Engines started, doors closed, and one by one, they drove away, leaving the house behind. The porch stood empty, the windows dark. The journal was gone, the results destroyed, but the truth, like the silence between them, remained.